Hi everyone, I'm Lokesh Parekh, founder and Salesforce consultant at Delta CX Consulting.
My name is Harshit Parekh and I have been working at Delta CX Consulting as Associate Salesforce Consultant.
We are here to talk about effective contract renewals using data cloud and AI. So team, again welcome and thank you for showing up on Saturday morning. So let's try to understand how the session will run for next 1.5 hours. We are going to first discuss the business problem. What is the pain point that we are trying to solve? We will then discuss what is the role of a consultant to bridge the gap between technology and business pain point, how important it is to set the perspective and help business understand how technology can solve their challenges. Right? And then as a technologist, we all love technology, so we are going to discuss in detail about data cloud and AI. After that, we want to see how actually solutions are implemented rather than just the buzzwords about data and AI. For someone who is interacting with businesses and trying to make them understand the value that they get out of data cloud and AI, we are going to discuss a little bit on ROI analysis, what is it worth the investment, right? Data and AI. So let's try to understand our client for today. So we have Anil, who is CRO of Jaipur Marketers. Jaipur Marketers is a company and their flagship product is Jaipur Conference app, which is a B2B software as a service. And when I say B2B, it's more of a Zoom or Slack rather than WhatsApp, right? They have around 200 employees, around $15 million annual recurring revenue. And the domain they come from is more of technology domain. I mean, just to describe, the major pointers that we want to note here is basically we have subscription-based models that they work on. Let's try to understand from that standpoint, what is the revenue cycle, how Jaipur marketers operate, right? How they generate the revenue, what is the revenue cycle look like. So we have divided this into 3 phases, right? One is acquire, engage, and then retain. So let's discuss, again from Anil's standpoint, what is important for Anil, in acquire phase. Acquire phase is more of driving sales, right? So every company invests in marketing to generate lead generation, right? And in our case, which is B2B, essentially marketing strategy differs a little bit, right? Instead of B2C where there is a large target audience, we have to understand that B2B works more on a segmented target, which is little small, and they keep it more personalized, right? So it's more about getting to know customer better, personalizing for them the solution, and then presenting it to them. Again, engage is more of onboarding. So basically, once the deal is closed, it's ensuring that they have smooth onboarding and they use the product regularly. But again, the second very important thing that we have to understand is about retainment, right? So retainment is all about contract renewals. So it's easy to retain and add more value so that they generate more revenue. Rather than continuously acquiring new customers. Perfect. So we again know a little bit about how their revenue cycle works. Let's try to understand what is actually the pain point of Anil, or how does a day in the life of Anil look like. So Anil, again the CRO, he is more into developing growth strategies and ensuring that the KPIs are met. In day-to-day life, right, he monitors a dashboard where he monitors the important KPIs. One important among them is net revenue retention. Understand this as how much revenue that they are making, taking into account both adding new customers, churning customers, upsells, cross-sells. So basically the net revenue, is it getting added or reduced for a fixed timeline, right? And then being a CRO and developing the growth strategies, he's always keen to see how technology can help and improve the business processes for him. And he looks out for what's trending in the industry and see if it can help them to improve the business processes. So we started with the growth strategy. So Anil had 2 options, either to go and maximize customer retention and add revenue to company, or he can be looking for adding more customer. So 2 part, retention as well as customer acquisition. and we already discussed, right? Customer acquisitions comes with a cost. So from a consultant standpoint, what we are suggesting is let's target to maximize customer retention, and for now not look at customer acquisition. Now again, being aligned to our strategy, we are choosing maximize lifetime value instead of addressing churn use case. So which again bring us to two options for our business, right? How lifetime value can be increased. So we have again two options here. Either we go and increase the lifetime span, which means they are staying with us for long. And then another option could be to think through and see whatever purchase that they are making and doing transactions with the company. We want to ensure that the average order value is increased. What that means is whatever they are paying for our services, we want to increase the size of the order, right? So let's say they are purchasing tier 3 level subscription. What we want to make sure is that they choose the tier 1 subscription so that the order value increases. So coming to the most important thing, which is contract renewal strategy, our focus as a consultant is now only on a single point, that we want to improve the customer renewal process with more personalized renewal journeys and backing it up with intelligence and insights from customer interactions data, right? We talked about pain point, we talked about drill down to know what is the business problem that we are solving, contract renewal process to be improved. We have talked about challenges, we have talked about their current landscape. What we are saying is, as a consultant, that look, we can probably solve your challenges and help you improve the KPIs using data cloud. So this is the proposed landscape. And if you see from the previous diagram, you see all the tech stack here, right? We were talking about that the business would have a lot of application. So that still remains as is. The only change that you see is now data cloud resides in center, and it is ingesting data from everything. Point to note is data cloud does not change the current landscape completely, but it complements all of your applications that are sitting in the current landscape, right? Just to summarize, data cloud is not replacing any of the system, which is very important, and it is complementing your current landscape in terms of applications that we have, right? Trying to predict if the contracts would be renewed in the customer renewal life cycle. So that would be our suggestion to business, that let's renew, get the insight, and then improve and personalized based on these kind of predictions your contract renewal journey. Perfect. So again, we'll talk a lot about what these graphs are, what propensity renewal means. For now, we just wanted to understand it as the probability that the customer will renew the contract or not. So Harshit, can you help us understand how you can create a AI model in data cloud?
So now let's talk about how we get this propensity score. Okay. So the AI model is the engine behind calculating this propensity score, and the AI model uses variety of data like customer feedback, consumption details, and contract details, and many more, which is related to that customer to make this prediction. Okay. And one more thing, this model needs aggregated and processed data. For this, we are using base data transformation. So now let me walk you through each and every step that are important to create this AI model. So now I am in my org. So my administrator is already set up the data cloud app, and we can locate this data cloud app in App Exchange. So under this data cloud app, we have one tab which is Einstein Studio. So all the AI related work we can done under this Einstein Studio tab. Okay. So now we are creating a predictive model. Okay. So we have multiple options. For now, I'm selecting create a model from scratch because we want full control over the configuration and the data we set up.
So just to add on this, right? What you see is you can create model from scratch, as well as you see a couple of other options, right? So what data cloud gives you the capability is you can either create your model from the scratch, or if your company already have, a team who is working on data science AI, and is already having a AI model created and hosted on other AI platforms like Amazon SageMaker, Vertex, or Databricks, you can directly plug in that AI model to Data Cloud instead of again creating that AI model in Data Cloud.
Okay. So next we need to select the data space. Okay. So for now we are selecting the default one, and now we are selecting the DMO. In this DMO we have aggregated and processed data. We are processing data in this DMO using base data transformation, which I will explain more later.
Okay, again, just to complement, right? So we discussed AI generally needs data, right? And what you see is, just assume this propensity renewal as a consolidated table where you have all the data that you want AI to, train and use it as a training data for making predictions for your business data use cases, right? Because AI needs, again, data is at the core of AI. This is what we have in terms of data which would be used for training the AI model, right?
So next we will filter out the record on which we want to train our AI model. Okay. So now we want to train this model, AI model, on our historical contract data. Okay. So I am including only those contract data that is marked as completed. Okay. So as a field I am selecting status, and as a value I am selecting completed. Okay. Now we have 400 rows to train this model, and make sure one thing. To train this model, we need at least 400 rows. For accuracy of this model, we need both negative and positive data in these rows. Okay.
Okay. So again, what we wanted to do was to predict if contract is going to renew, right? And then we are saying that we would need the data to train the AI model, right? So the aim here is we have historical data where we know if contract earlier was renewed with customer or not. And then we also have the data which we think would be adding value to, or help us predict, like, if customer is satisfied, what was the subscriptions, what was the consumptions, all attributes which are more relevant and contribute to customer renewals. We are making sure that that historical data is being used rather than just the random data, right? So that's where we are filtering and ensuring that we know what was the outcome, and we are using that outcome to train our models so that it knows how to decide based on the previous historical data.
Okay. So next we have to configure the goal. So our goal is we want to maximize our contract renewation. So as a goal field I am selecting is renewed, and I am maximizing it with true value.
Okay, again, so what we want is we want to ensure as business, right, that our contracts are renewed again and again. So what we are saying here is to our model is that we want is renewal, which is just saying that we want this contract to be renewed more, and we want to maximize this value instead of minimizing it, right?
Is prepare variable. Okay. So these variables helps AI model to calculate the prediction. Okay. So for now we can manually select the variables, but for now we are using auto select, which is done by the AI model. Okay.
So again, platforms is giving you the capability to decide for you what are the relevant attributes that he thinks based on the use case that we are doing. And this is important part, right? All the variables that you see, this is actually the attributes that we think would support if the contract would be renewing or not. So things like what is the consumption against the license that they have purchased, what is their CSAT or NPS, which is basically trying to understand if customer is satisfied with us or not, things like that, right? So this is where we are telling our model that these are the relevant attributes to train.
Okay. So next we have to select algorithm for our AI model. So for now I am selecting gradient boosting machine because our data is very simple to understand, and if we have complex data then we can just choose XGBoost model, which is also recommended by AI itself.
Perfect. Again, so there are multiple use cases and there are recommended algorithms. So as a developer, as a consultant, what we are doing here is just consuming the algorithms that the AI is providing. We are not writing it, right? So there are defined use cases that these algorithms can support. And for our use case, looking at the data set we have, gradient boosting machine algorithms is more suitable. But for anything which is more advanced model, more complex, we generally select extreme gradient boosting.
So now our AI model is ready to save and train. But before we activate this model, we need to check training metrics. So as you can see on screen, we have top predictors. And these top predictors are ranked based on their importance in determining whether the contract is going to renew or not. Okay.
So once you saved the model, right? What happened was the model was created, and then platforms gives you matrices based on which you try to understand if your model is fitting the use case and is as per your expectation, right? So you can play with the model, you can change certain matrices, and then come up to a model which is actually supplementing and predicting what you are expecting out of it, right? So no model is perfect, but you try to see how perfect your model is based on the matrices. And this is just one part where it is showing what are the predictors that model has taken from all those attributes that we selected, right? And is showing up the importance that it has taken based on the data, and is utilizing all those attributes based on specific percentage that will determine your predictions that AI model is going to make.
Okay, so now our AI model is ready to use. Further, we will use this AI model in base data transformation to make predictions.
Okay, so that looked simple, right? We are saying AI a couple of times and then the AI model was created, right? It looked very simple, right? Probably something is missing, no? Okay, so AI need data, and that's where the challenge starts as a technologist. You have multiple systems, and it's not easy to integrate those systems. It is generally very resource and cost heavy, although any integration that we do, and then it comes with a cost. So for business, right, what is important for them? Time to go to market, and then resources they want to invest, and integration is on both the cases is very high. The cost is very high. So how Data Cloud solves the problem, right? So we started AI, we want data, we want to ingest the data, which means we are incorporating data from multiple systems. Data Cloud solves this problem by giving you out-of-the-box connectors, which is exactly as simple as you clicked in previous demo, right? Just clicking a couple of times and you are ready to integrate, which takes out all that integration and managing those integrations. That effort is gone, and it is very simplified. The Data Cloud is simplified by giving you out-of-the-box data connectors to ingest and connect the multiple systems. So we are starting with data ingestion, and this is the capability that Data Cloud gives. So what you see is data streams, and these data streams just assume that these are the connections between multiple systems and very specific tables that you want to ingest. These are those connections, and you are ingesting the data. Now we have ingested the data, we have the data in the system, but external systems can be having data in different way, representing their data model could be very, very different, right? It could be scalable, not scalable, right? But what we want to do is, with Data Cloud, there is already a data model that they give, which is scalable and addresses most of the industry use cases. And the aim here is to make sure that instead of just replicating a non-scalable database, you utilize the data model, you use the data model of Data Cloud and map those external systems correctly to this data tables that Data Cloud provides. So harmonization is where we are ensuring that the table from external system is mapped to the relevant tables, which is more scalable database and addresses most of the industries from business standpoint, right? So that's where harmonization comes in. So you have ingested data, you are just mapping that external data models to Salesforce Data Cloud data model. And it may look simple, so we just wanted to show you it can be complex, right? You can see a lot of, so these are just tables that we have ingested, and then these are connections, all the connections. So data could be very tightly interlinked, right? So it's not as simple as just mapping a couple of fields. Now we have data, we have mapped it to the Salesforce Data Cloud data model, but their data is coming from multiple systems, right? And when we say multiple system, and if we go a little deeper in terms of technicality, right? One system could be addressing the same row in a different way with a unique identifier, whereas the another system is, capturing the same information using a different identifier. The problem this creates is, though we know that the data is same, right? It represents the same individual in X system and the same system in Y system. But when it comes to ingesting that data and unifying it, it is not easy in technology to try to consolidate based on a single attribute. So that's where Data Cloud gives you the capability to identify those customers based on rules that you can write. So if you see here, what we are doing is, you see the match rule, right? So what we are essentially telling here is that, look, I want to unify my customer based on the name and email, or if based on name or phone number. So if there are two systems and my customer first name, all other attributes are not matching, but at least if his name and email is matching, I want to understand and see it as a single customer rather than two rows. So that's where the unification and 360-degree view comes in, and Data Cloud complements the capability where it is very easily unified all of those external systems data. So we talked about unification, but let's see it what happens, right? So let's say this Eva Garcia, she is one of a customer and is using Jaipur conference app. It could be residing in their CRM, it could be residing on their subscription platform. So what we are doing here is, we have ingested all the data from multiple systems, and we are seeing the unified view where we are seeing all the relevant attributes value, which may be coming from consumption platform or may be coming for CRM. So that's, at the end of the day, a unified profile which is consolidated with all the relevant attributes that we want to pick from multiple systems. So you can see first name, last name, birth date, all coming from CRM, whereas you can see consumption platform attribute 1 from maybe consumption platform, which is coming up. So you are essentially doing unification and trying to get a unified view of your customer from different systems. So you saw Eva's record, right? Now you are seeing all the related information that Eva can have in multiple systems. And this is where you see, right? You see two records. So what it means is, basically this record is probably coming from CRM and this is coming from the consumption platform. And based on the rules that we have designed, this is consolidating those two rows in single unified view. At the same time, Data Cloud is giving you capability to understand which all profiles were mapped, and it holds the records in the system. So you get a sense of what all records have been unified. Similarly, you can see all the related information, right, that Eva has. Okay, so subscription details, consumption details, survey response, cases, all that information, right? So again, to sum up, right, at the end of the day, you were able to solve the challenge without any integration, custom development, and additional cost. Just by point and click, you were able to ingest a lot of data from multiple systems, and you were able to solve the pain problem of data silo using Data Cloud. Again, it looked very simple, just a couple of clicks, right, and everything was solved. What you see here is batch data transform. So we talked about, right, that for AI model we need data, and you were seeing that only we were able to select a single table, right? And we said, like, you always want data which is aggregated, cleaned, and transformed, right? That's where Data Cloud gives you the capability using batch data transform, where you can consolidate even after ingesting multiple data from multiple data sources. You can have data residing in multiple different tables. So this batch data transform gives you the capability to consolidate all that data, aggregate, transform, clean, and use only the relevant attributes that you need for your AI model, right? You may only want consumption detail and not other attributes that you think would add up to the predictions.
So as I mentioned earlier, base data transformation needs aggregated data. So AI model needs aggregated data. That's where the base data transformation comes in. Okay. So the base data transformation is a way to automatically process big amount of data, and it makes sure that our data stay accurate and up to date. Okay. In base data transformation, we can add data, we can transform data, we can aggregate data, and we can change data until it's ready to use and save. Okay. So now let's take a look of our base data transformation. So under data transform, we have base data transformation.
So we have already created one, and we are just trying to show you what are the capabilities that we get here.
For AI model, we need aggregated data, but the aggregated data comes from different sources. That's why we have included multiple input sources. As you can see on screen, we have cases, sales orders, subscription, consumption, and feature uses. And at last, we have server responsiveness. So first, we will merge sales order and cases. Okay, because sales contract is on top of the level. Okay, so we are merging cases, we are grouping cases with the help of contract. Okay, next, and under join 3 you can see we are merging sales order and cases with the help of join node. Okay, but before joining we are doing some transformation because we want to separate some details from our existing data. Okay, now we have one merge data which is sales order and cases in join 3. Next we will merge subscription, consumption, and feature uses. Okay, in these input sources we have data which we want to calculate average, on which we want to calculate average. Okay, so first we will merge feature uses and consumption details. So under join 1 you can see that we are merging consumption details and feature uses, since subscription can only have one consumption record and one feature uses record. Okay, after merging this we are merging consumption and feature uses with subscription detail with the help of subscription ID. Okay, now we have two merged data. First one is cases and sales order, and second one is subscription, consumption, and feature uses. But before we merge these both of these merged data, we need to aggregate consumption, subscription, and feature uses in aggregate 2 node. Here you can see that we are grouping consumption, subscription, and feature uses with the help of contract, and we are calculating average of consumption metrics and feature uses. Okay, so in join 4 you can see we are merged both the merged data. First one is cases and sales order, and second one is subscription, consumption, and feature uses. So at the bottom of the screen you can see that we have survey response enhanced. In this input source we have CSAT and NPS score. Since account can have multiple CSAT and NPS score, so first we need to filter out those records from these input sources. So as you can see that in CSAT and NPS we are filtering records based on their name. So in next node we are grouping this CSAT and NPS score using account. Okay, now we have grouped CSAT and NPS score, and in this aggregate node we are also calculating average of scores, both these scores. Okay, so now we will just merge this data with our previous merged data. As you can see in join 5 and join 6 we are merging this with our previous merged data. So now our data aggregated data is ready to save, but before we save this in the output node we need to clean up this data to make this more readable and understandable. So in these two transformations we are rounding off the numerical values, and we are removing some unnecessary columns, and we are editing columns name to make them readable. Okay, so at final we are mapping this base data transformation with our propensity renewal DMO. Here you can see in left side we have base data transformation columns, in right side we have propensity renewal DMO columns, and we have mapped. So in this DMO propensity renewal, now we have aggregated data, and we will use this DMO to make prediction in our next base data transformation.
So okay, just to simplify what happened, right? When we created the AI model, right? If you remember, we selected a DMO, we called it a DMO, which is just a table, which was propensity renewal. And we were saying like this is aggregated, cleaned, and transformed data. So what essentially we are doing is we are taking information from all those DMOs. DMOs is just consider them as a table, right, which is storing information. So what essentially we are doing is we are pulling all the relevant attributes from different number of tables, and we are ensuring that a single consolidated view of attribute is getting created and stored in propensity renewal, which is the historical data that we use to train the model. And this only shows that what we are saying is data is actually sitting on multiple tables, but at the end of the day, for model to use it and consume it, you want it in a more cleaner and efficient way. So that's where all this activity comes in of grouping, consolidating, filtering, aggregating all this information in a single table. So we started with AI model, we started with data, and that's the data propensity renewal DMO, which is helping us to consolidate that attributes that are going to use in AI model.
So now we will use this DMO and that AI model to make prediction on our data. Okay.
We have AI model, we have the data ready with us. What's next?
Here we will make prediction. Okay. In this base data transformation, we are using the propensity renewal DMO, which we have. In which we have feed data in last base data transformation. Okay. So now first we will filter those records on which we want prediction, because historical data we have used to train this model, train AI model. Okay. So after filtration, after record filtration, we are using that AI model which we have created earlier.
So just to set the context again, right? We have the data ready to be consumed, but at the end of the day, what we are saying is we want to still tell which data the AI model should predict on, right? We have the model, we have trained it using that propensity renewal DMO, but still until now there is no business data on which the AI model needs to predict the actual values. This is where we are saying, and telling AI model to use relevant business data and you make predictions on. So this is the way of consuming the AI model and make predictions on the actual business data. So this propensity renewal holds both the historical data as well as new data, new contracts related information in the same way. We consolidated for historical view. Now we want to use that same model which holds the new business data on which we want to predict. Actual predictions needs to be made, and that's where we are filtering this on the current active contracts which are running, and we are trying to make predictions. So the node that you see, predict renewal, is the actual out of the box node that the platform gives, and it represents a way that you can consume the AI model and fit in your data, feed in the data on which the AI model will make the predictions. Okay. Right? So we are consuming, so if I simplify it again, right? Here we are consuming the AI model. We were training and creating data in the previous batch data.
In filtration, we are using only those contracts which is marked as not completed. Okay. So
this is contracts which are active, currently active, and
yes,
you want to predict on.
We have 20 contracts for predictions. Okay. So in this AI model, we have mapped the fields with AI models fields which we have selected in prepare variables steps in AI model creation time.
So these are all the attributes that we had, right? While creating the AI model, we had selected the attributes, right, with the specific percentage that AI model would use those attributes to predict. So these are now being mapped to same attributes, and what we are doing here is we are telling the AI model that in this row which you want to predict, these are the attributes that you want to consider for predictions.
Okay, as you can see that AI model and this base data transformation added a prediction predicted is the renewed column automatically. Okay, but for now we have 0 values in this column, but when we run this base data transformation, this will feed data, this will feed prediction in this column. Okay, so next we are doing the same thing. We are removing some extra columns, and at last we are writing this prediction and the data in propensity renewal prediction response DMO. Okay.
We had a lot of information, multiple systems. Now we have drilled down, and what we are getting at the end, right, is this DMO, which is another table, which is just storing a couple of things, right?
Yes.
We are storing which account we are predicting for, what is the contract that we are predicting for, what is the contract number for that contract, and whether it is going to renew or not, right?
Okay.
And then the probability of it. So from all of that information, at the end of the day, business is only concerned if the contract would renew based on all the information. So final, where we are storing our results, right? The prediction results, we only have these columns, and we are able to consume all this information and utilize it later on. So this stores all our results for predictions that the AI model is going to make.
Now let's check the results. So in Data Explorer, we can check our data, which is, and we can check in data lake, data model, and calculated insights data. So our data is fed in data model object. So for this, I'm selecting this, and we can just select our DMO in which we have prediction data. Okay, now as you can see this, we have predictions.
So this is the final results that we were talking about based on all the attributes. This outcome does not take into account what were all the data that was used for predictions. This is essentially storing only the outcome, if that contract would be renewed or not, and that result is the renewal probability that we will be using to support our contract renewal journeys, right? So we wanted to predict, we got the results, now we are going to use this result. Okay, so let's try to once again try to consolidate what we discussed. So we had Anil, who was deciding and developing growth strategies. As a consultant, we drilled down to address the contract renewals and address the pain point, which led us to the improving contract renewal strategy, which again translated in terms of technology to predict in advance and get to know if contracts would be renewed or not. And then we have used AI and data on Data Cloud to do that predictions. So that piece is now solved. Now just assume you want to see 4 informations about a customer and you are going to interact with 4 different systems. That's frustrating, right? Here you get the 360-degree view. What you are seeing is Sales Cloud, and what you see is a contact record. So basically, this is actual user that has purchased the license of Jaipur conference app, and this is the information about the customer that we have. So when we say this graph, this basically is showing what is her average consumption rate for last 12 months. So we are able to see the consumption data in CRM, which was earlier not possible because this data was sitting in a different system. And then you are able to see lifetime value as well, which is again was not there with the Jaipur marketers earlier, because again this information was spreaded in multiple systems. And then we are also enriching the profile by pulling in some information from consumption platform, and then you see the consolidated attributes which are more relevant for the business people, right? So you can see all that information in one place. So what you see on the left, right, it's an LWC component, which is a custom component that has been created. What we are showing in the next slide is Data Cloud gives you capability to either show that information using custom solutions that you wanted to build, whereas it also gives you the capability to apply your automations and feed the data right into the table, standard tables. So you have the data enriched on the account table right away. So both it gives you flexibility as a developer to use custom solutions as well as utilize a standard data model. Perfect. So we talked about intelligence, we talked about insights. So at the end of the day, how it translates to business, right? This is how it gets translated. So you may have data, you may have information, but unless it's in same place, it's not, you get the full insights on your data, right? This dashboard helps Anil to monitor all the relevant KPIs very easily instead of juggling with multiple systems. So that pain point which we solved, right? is actually translated on a simple dashboard which is up to date, and then this is more CRM analytics which sits on top of CRM only, and you are able to consume the data model objects. So all the data which is in data cloud, you are able to consume and show relevant API dashboards for Anil. So that solves his pain point of juggling multiple systems and trying to understand what is the current state of business, right? So these are the dashboards that we can create, right? Now we have insight, we have the data, we have predicted, but we discussed, right, we want to have automations so that I can automate business processes based on that prediction, right? We wanted to design a more effective contract renewal journey, right? Which means essentially we wanted to automate some of the process based on the information that we have generated, right? So we have simplified it for you, but at the end of the day, you can use flows to consume all that information that we have generated. So we showed you batch data transformation to consume the AI model. You can consume the same AI model in flows, which means as a developer or as a consultant, I get the capability to automate and use the predictions on the fly in my business processes, right? So you can use flows, and what we wanted to show here is we have kept it very simple and just creating a simple follow-up task. So if my prediction is more than 90%, I am saying is probably I have a chance to upsell and cross-sell. So I am automating a business process based on the prediction that I have made, and I've created a task for my sales rep to follow up based. And he does not have to look into system. He does not have to juggle with multiple records, multiple system. He just gets a task created based on the insight which is backed by the data and AI. So it's not task, basically it's information which has been clubbed from multiple system, have been applied all the analysis using AI model, and then the final decision that he can go with. So there is a chance for him to upsell and cross-sell. So probably we have solved something for Anil. Let's try to see if it was worth it, right? So how business runs. It is always, we want to validate our solutions with the cost that it comes with, right? So always return on investment is first thing as a CRO on it would look for. So we wanted to show him what he's investing, he's getting returns better than that, right? So we wanted to do that ROI analysis. Okay, so we talked about that Anil was having an annual recurring revenue of around $15 million. How that is coming up? He has around 3,000 customers, okay, current customers, and the average annual order value that we see is more of around 5,000, which is kind of logical for a B2B company, right? And what we are saying is that's how it accumulates to a $15 million annual recurring revenue for Anil. We were discussing contract renewals, right? So let's understand what is their current state in terms of retention rate. What retention rate simply means is how many customers stays after a specific time, right, with us and does not churn. So which means 10 out of 7 customers will remain with us over a period of time. So 70% retention rate. And the hypothesis that we are making, whatever we have done, right, this would at least improve their retention rate by 5%, and that's a hypothesis, right, that we are making for doing our math. So what you see is current state with 70% of retention rate. Out of 3,000 customers, only 2,100 customers would be retained with current contract renewal strategy. Whereas if we implement the solution, probably we are going to retain a lot more customer, and this would be 2,250 customers. What is the impact on revenue, doing all this? So their current revenue with the 70% retention rate would drop down to around 10 million. And then if we implement the solution, it would be probably 11.5 million, something like that. So you see increased revenue already. And that's what Anil want. So Okay, so what is the increase in revenue for 1 year? Okay, so we are doing this analysis for 3 years. For first year, what is the increase in revenue? It's around $750,000. And then for what we are just here showing you what is, so we have understood what would be the increase in revenue. Let's try to understand what is the cost that it has come up with, right? So data cloud, if we are implementing, it would be having licensing cost. We would need to implement, so implementation cost comes in, and then for every implementation there is generally a maintenance cost as well, right? So they have to maintain their solutions. So we are showing you here that what is the license cost that we expect, what is the implementation cost for a 10-week odd data cloud implementation, and we are just showing you that the probable investment over 3 years would be somewhere around $444,000. Just remember two things here, that there is an annual revenue increase which is $750,000, and then there is a cost over 3 years that was annual, and over 3 years we have a total cost investment of around $444,000. Okay, so for maths, right? What is the cumulative revenue that we got? So this is, I'll simplify it, right? So what we are doing is we are just checking the investment output, where we see what is the cumulative revenue that we have generated by implementing the solution, and against the total investment that is we have invested, right, in licenses, implementation cost, and we are just seeing the ROI on that, which is coming, around 400%. And you can play with the numbers, right? We have taken what was that, around $75 for implementation cost, licenses. You can play and change the numbers, and you'll see maths remain same, and you'll be able to predict what is the ROI analysis. So this is not final. If Anil says, look, I think it will not be 5%, I predict after doing this it will be only 2% of change. So the maths changes, but this is our hypothesis that it would be 5%. So that's how we show the value to Anil, that look, you are investing the money, but this is the outcome that you get. And then he can decide he wants to go with the solution, implement it or not. I think we are done. So thank you very much. If you have any.
So the session was good, and we have given a lot of information about contract renewal.
The audience was really engaging, and that probably helped us to deliver the story that we wanted to. I think the most important thing was we were able to demo the AI model creation in Data Cloud and how it can be consumed to predict the renewals. It was really great experience delivering the session, and thank you Jaipur marketers for hosting us. Jaipur marketers.